Welcome to today's webinar about SDS2 and the STRUMIS integration. My name is Laura Sinclair and I'm here with Alex Bussey with STRUMIS. We're going to show the integration between our software and then do a short Q&A at the end, joined by Chris Eaton of STRUMIS, Michelle McCarthy, and Brandon Lindow of SDS2. Many of you are familiar with SDS2 for detailing, but that is not the only thing that the model offers. You can use that model for many other functions and take advantage of all the information that can benefit your company. There are multiple ways to use the model. The erector can assign load lifts, put in their crane, and show the liftable members. There won't be guessing in the field because they'll already have the lifts assigned. Estimating for the model isn't new for our customers either. Being able to quickly get out an estimate for a bid with more accuracy will allow more opportunities to win work. The CNC files for the shop will come in from the model and be able to produce all the geometry to make up that piece of steel. There are many configurations and setup options to be able to customize what your shop needs. With SDS2 approval, the reviewer can assign statuses throughout the model, and then everything in that model is up to date and keeps everyone all on the same page. Detailing is our most popular function. You can create drawings from the members in the model that take less time modifying than any other software. Today we're going to focus on this SDS2 and STRUMIS workflow. So you will see from us today export of a single file from SDS2 to STRUMIS. This file will contain model data, NC data, drawings that include the part, assembly, group members, and erection drawings. That export will import to STRUMIS from SDS2, again using that single file. And the benefit to that is that you have less confusion about which files you need to grab. It's only a single file that takes everything with it. Upon import, you're going to have the validation against the STRUMIS material library, and that will include automated revision control. It will also automatically link the bill of material data to the model, drawings, and NC files. While we're at it, you'll also see an IFC export from SDS2 Detailing for use in SDS2 Fortosi. Because we've linked up the common GUIDs between SDS2 Detailing, STRUMIS, and Fortosi, it'll manage the whole process a lot more seamlessly, and you'll be able to see your loads in both STRUMIS and in SDS2 Detailing, all managed by SDS2 Fortosi. From STRUMIS, you'll see some automation in the production routing tools with fully automated routines based on piece marking assembly properties from the SDS2 model data. We'll also show the STRUMIS mobility app that's included at no additional cost with your STRUMIS license, which makes it much easier to move piece marks and assemblies using a mobile device. In addition, the STRUMIS production control workflow just allows a simple progression of piece marks and assemblies through production for your team. Finally, when we export the proposed loading information from the bill of lading of STRUMIS into Fortosi, and finalize those load plans to make sure you have a physical fit on the trailer for maybe complex geometry. Fortosi will optimize that information, and that can go back to STRUMIS and go back to SDS2 Detailing to show those loads set up in the SDS2 Detailing model. This allows you to create load plans that can be sent to your yard to efficiently load your trailers correctly the first time. And that status colorization from the model using STRUMIS attributes allows you to see things live in real time, pinging from the STRUMIS database, which is a huge advantage rather than file transfers back and forth. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with the model.
Since we are starting with a pre-built SDS2 model, we can jump into the workflow by creating the STRUMIS export. As you can see on the screen here, there are a number of options to help you make that export fit your needs, but it will export a BSWX file that will communicate directly with STRUMIS in their preferred format. It will also include, along with that BSWX file, all the CAD files, PDFs, and NC1 files for STRUMIS to manage then internally. While we are still in SDS2, we're going to take the extra step of creating an IFC file that we will use to show the integration between STRUMIS and SDS2 Fortosi for truck loading purposes. With that file created, I will hand things over to Alex.
Thank you, Laura. Now that we have the BSWX file exported from SDS2 using the latest BIM Review plugin, we're now going to process that in STRUMIS. So we're going to be using our wizard tools to do so. So I'm going to go up to wizard to start with on my contract ribbon, import bill of materials, and I'm going to follow the wizard through. So I'm going to go next. You can see here it's already picked up my contract. I can go next, pick my CAD interface and choose my BSWX file, which is just here. That's the one that Laura's just created for us. We can open that. And here we can see our steel listing that's coming from the BSWX. A feature that we have in here is we now have GUIDs connected to each individual piece of steel. GUIDs are a unique identifier. They're going to stay with the steel through its life cycle through STRUMIS, and we're using it for things like identifying individual components within a model. I'm going to keep going and follow through next. I can see everything's valid. We're all good to go. And now I'm going to look to conclude this wizard to build my bill of materials. Now, one thing I want to make sure is ticked at this point is link to doc management. So we can capitalize on extracting the CAM data and the drawings to make sure that they're then going to be imported into the database too. So if I go finish, it's going to conclude this wizard, open up my next one. Okay, so first thing I want to do is pick my interface, make sure I've got my SDS2 import ready to go, pick up my file again, and then run this wizard as well. So what this wizard is doing is extracting that data from the BSWX. So we can see now, rather than having lots of flat files like we had previously, we now have it all contained within one consolidated BSWX file. So we can see here we've got the CAM data. If I scroll down, we've got the CAD documents. So we've got drawings, we've got NCs, and at the very top we'll bring in the BIM review document as well, so that that's then held within the database. We can use that for the contract BIM review function. Okay, so now we have our bill of materials imported. Let's have a look at what we can do with the documentation in relation to that. So we've got the option here to view drawings. I can then view files. That's going to now open that up in my PDF viewer. I can work my way through my assemblies, or I can work through components and open up drawings directly in front of STRUMIS on this pop-up window. I can also do a similar thing with the model viewer with BIM review by going to BIM review, highlight assemblies. And I can see here I've got my first assembly highlighted. I can then work my way through the list, highlighting up the various assemblies in the model, and I can also work my way down here through the various piece marks as well. And of course, with it being BIM review, all the functions are still active. So we can still go in, see things in the grid view, or we can right click and inquire on the parts, which would show us properties as well. Now, if we're talking CAM data, we can also come down here and use StruCNC to view the CAM data in the piece marks. So that's going to load up StruCNC, and we can work our way through each individual piece mark to observe the CAM information for it. Now, once we're at this stage, we want to push something into production. So I want to go to Issue Material to Production, and I'm going to look at issuing my assemblies. So I'm going to grab all of my assemblies, go to Issue to Production, Selection, and follow the wizard through again. Now I'm going to let my templates do all the heavy lifting here. They're already designed to route my steel exactly where it needs to go. So I can see I've got full valid templates. I'm going to go next. And if I go to the assemblies header here, I can see the approximated loading for each of those processes that I'm now going to push material into production against. So I'll just go finish. I can now go to production control, and I can see that I've got assemblies sent to both fabrication and some have gone to assembly inspection. The templates have routed them there. So the next step is I would like to have a look at how to use the mobility app to move some material forward. So I'm going to have a look down here and find something at a quantity. So I have this 9B1 here at a quantity of 11. I need to run my barcode report to get a barcode for that. So I'm going to run my group label one here. Now that is in lot 1. So we're going to run this report. I'm going to use a lot breakdown just to make it a bit easier and have a look for process of fabrication as well, so it doesn't pull fabrication and assembly inspection through. It's going to run that report. That's going to generate me my barcodes. So if I work my way down towards the bottom, here's the barcode for that particular part, this 9B1. I'm just going to make that a little bit larger. Okay. And next thing I need is my mobility app to scan it. So I'm going to grab my mobility app here, which is my phone. And if I go to scanner, I'm going to need to be in fabrication, have myself highlighted, and then I need to start that process. So I'm going to then scan using my phone's camera, the barcode. Okay, so now I'm going to choose the full quantity to start. I'm going to hit OK. And I'll hit add. There we go. That's now starting off. So that's recording time for me against this process. When I'm ready to finish it, I'm going to go to finish and scan the barcode again. And I'm going to choose to end the 11 as well there. And if I hit add, that's now going to put that into the finishing process. So I can close that down now. And if I shut that down and have a look at production control, if I just do a filter and apply, we can see now that's moved it to fabrication inspection. So if I look at contract BIM review, go into the views to select something along the lines of assemblies by production process. And that's then going to show me the legend on the left, and they're colored by the attribute chosen up above here. So in this case, it is the production process. So we can see there, we've got some yellow at the back, and some pink and some blue. And that will evolve as the model progresses through its work orders. Now I want to move all these so that they are all at a stage where we can consider loading. So I'm going to be moving these forward in production control to now move them to painting inspection as opposed to loading to site. And within this stage, I'm going to have a look at what I'd be considering for generating a bill of lading for loading my trucks. So I need to have a look at what I've got in terms of weight. So I'm going to have a look at sequence 1, lot 1, and I've got a total on my weight right now. And I can see that the weight is over what I would intend it to be for this particular load. I'm going to then pass that information onto Fortosi to get a proper loading list. So I'm going to hand this over to Laura. She's going to handle that process and then give me the file back to run into STRUMIS. So over to you, Laura.
Thank you, Alex. We're starting off by opening SDS2 Fortosi and importing the IFC of the model. So you can see all of our steel here. And at this point, we're going to use our properties filter to filter down to sequence 1. Once filtered to sequence 1, we can further filter down to starting with our columns. So this filters out all of our columns and allows us to add them to the staging list. Once in the staging list, we can flip over to the truck loading view, where we will set up our first load by adding just a few trailers. And starting off with our first load, you can see as we place steel on the trailer, it will show up red when it's not loadable and reflect green when it is in a position that actually will fit onto the trailer. So as I go through and load this trailer, I can nest those columns in together. And as I see clashing, again, it'll flip from red to green to give me the information and the visual feedback I need to know how to efficiently load this trailer. As you can see, I've kind of sped this up here a little bit. So we've got our first load of the columns set up. So now I'm going to take the second load from the model here and create our second trailer. This will be made up of beams and horizontal braces. This time, rather than load manually, I'm going to use the auto load feature. That once I invoke that command, it will look at the steel that is in the left-hand staging list and figure the most efficient way to put that onto a trailer, adding dunnage zones along as it goes. Once it's loaded, I can make adjustments, but you can see we've got that steel loaded onto the trailer. Now we'll complete our trailers and send the load list back over to STRUMIS from SDS2 Fortosi using our STRUMIS export. With that, I'll hand it back over to Alex.
So now that Laura's created our load list in Fortosi, we're now going to take that file she's generated and import it back into STRUMIS to populate our bundle column with our loading data. So to do that, I have an automated task running in the background that's automatically scanning the folder that I've placed it into. And it's going to use that file to import, as I mentioned before, into STRUMIS to populate bundles. So the automated task should have run around about now. So I'm just going to go to Filter and Apply just to refresh my grid. Go back to my process and I should see in my bundle column my load data come through. So you can see that it's updated sequence 1, lot 1 with my loading information. Now with that information I could then sort and select, say lot 1, and then create my bill of lading utilizing that information. And I know that because the information has been processed through Fortosi, that would be a much more accurate load.
Picking up where Alex left off, we'll see how this translates to SDS2.
SDS2 is able to read directly into the STRUMIS database. Once back in the model, we can go into our STRUMIS settings and determine what server, database, and contract I want to read from. But in this case, I'm already set up. Once you have those definitions set, you can then color the model by attribute with the information from your STRUMIS database. In this case, I'm going to look at my sequences and lots, but also the bundles that were carried across from Fortosi and back into STRUMIS, allowing that to color code my SDS2 detailing model. So as we can see, red is our sequence. And then you've got our bundles for load 1 and load 2. And having the visibility right there on the screen in the model of what truckload each item is on, all corresponding from your STRUMIS model, is extremely valuable to users. That concludes today's webinar on the SDS2 and STRUMIS integration. We covered exporting the BSWX file out of SDS2, importing into STRUMIS and updating the attributes, loading our trucks in Fortosi, and bringing that information back into our STRUMIS contract, and finally by finishing with the color coding by attribute inside of SDS2 detailing. Now we'll give you a few moments to type in your questions and start the Q&A.
This is Brandon from SDS2 here. Question that someone may have is how's SDS2 getting this information out of STRUMIS? And in fact, we already saw that settings screen from our plugin. It's a plugin, and we have access directly to the STRUMIS database through a plugin. And every time that you hit that color by attribute tool, it goes and queries the contract, the STRUMIS contract that has linked to this job, and refreshes the data.
So Brandon, we also had a question. This is Chris from STRUMIS. We also had a question about when this is all available. So if you wanted to fill people in on that.
Yeah. So the BSWX, the BIM review export, the BSWX file is currently available in 2020. And the good thing about that is ongoing development with that all the time, but it is currently available, and it is a plugin. So when we find things that need work, we've been working closely with STRUMIS, and we can put out a plugin installer for that. The color by attribute has not yet been released, but it will soon be. We have been working through some, I don't know if you would call them technical issues, but just adding more and more attributes that you can color the model by. There's, probably an endless number of attributes that we can color. We can, where's it at in the shop, just all sorts of other stuff. And Chris and Alex probably know more about all of the endless attributes that you can set in STRUMIS, but the goal is to do parts and assemblies and all sorts of other stuff.
And coming down the line, Brandon, there's going to be purchase information, heat number information, who welded which assemblies, that type of cool stuff that we're able to export directly from STRUMIS, or well, you read directly from STRUMIS using your direct database tool.
I do have a whole list of questions here I can read off for you guys.
Okay,
good.
My computer froze up a little bit here. First one was, what versions of SDS2 is this applicable? Did you guys answer that?
yes,
Yeah.
kind of. I mean, 2020 is the BSWX file, and the color by attribute has not yet been released with a specific version, but it is a plugin installer that we can release.
Okay. And when we release that plugin, where can our customers get that? So we just email directly to them on demand right now until we get it up on the website?
Yep. That's
okay. So if anyone's interested, if you can go ahead and email your sales rep and request it, then we can get you to the right people to get this plugin to download the SDS2 to STRUMIS BSWX exporter. There's a question, are you able to determine if you're loading steel members, if your trucks are being overloaded? I think I can answer this one with from the Fortosi standpoint. If you send over a list from STRUMIS that's maybe just a bill of lading based on weight, assuming that weight is still good for the trailer, it will load it and you'll see the geometric fit or the physical fit on the trailer. If you send over a load list that's above the load, you're going to get feedback in Fortosi showing that it won't allow you to place all the pieces of steel on the trailer because it'll exceed the limits. And so it'll stop you there.
And from the STRUMIS side there, if what Alex showed earlier on was that we'd exported something that was well over a truckload. If the detailer has not actually kind of been detailing in truckloads, we'd let Fortosi handle that and then return the information back into STRUMIS on an actual shippable load based on weight.
Great. This one will be for STRUMIS. When you're viewing the material on a CNC viewer, can you make any additional changes on that viewer if there was something that was missed?
We also have STRU CNC editing capabilities as well. We only showed the viewer today, but we can add holes, cuts, remove holes, add scribes, There's lots of additional functionality within the CNC viewer and editor. We can also batch process NC1 files. So if a detailer has put in an incorrect hole size, we can go in and grab a bunch of NC files and batch update them to put the correct hole size in, find and replace holes. And if anybody wants to see any more STRU CNC demonstrations, we'd be more than happy to do that as well.
Okay, great. Let's see, there's a question about, is there a drawing that can be given to the loading crew as to how the load was created in order for them to create the same load? The answer to that is yes. SDS2 Fortosi will create what we call a load map, which will give you a view of each level of steel as it goes onto the trailer with a piece mark and kind of a measurement from the back end, so you know exactly where that steel needs to be placed to recreate that virtual load. Let's see. Which software are you using to scan a file with the bundles, and how can I connect it with STRUMIS? So that question, I think, is really, we're using SDS2 Fortosi to set up the physical loads, but we're using STRUMIS to create that bill of lading. And STRUMIS is, maybe Chris, you can answer that one, the ability to connect that with SDS2 Fortosi and STRUMIS will be available?
That'll be available on request to any of our customers or any of your customers. Just to note that Alex did show the barcoding application that comes with STRUMIS. He only actually showed for how to progress things through production, but we can actually scan our barcodes onto trucks, onto trailers, so as we load them. And then when the trailer is ready to leave, we can scan the bill of lading to say that it's left for the job site. And it can also be scanned when it's received at the job site. And we can even scan assemblies when they're erected in the field as well.
Great. Another question, can you use BSWX to import the ABM?
Yes, you can. That would be our preferred method. When you use preliminary marks inside SDS2 as well, those are tracked all the way through to the bill of materials as well. We can even force our nesting to only use the ABM marks exactly as they are in the bill of materials. And we can run reports to say what's changed from the ABM BSWX through to the bill of material BSWX.
Great. There's a question, is there an auto loading calculation to limit per each load to add on to a trailer? I think that inside of SDS2 Fortosi, there you can load manually or you can load automatically. The auto load will stop once it's reached that trailer's physical limit weight or height, depending on how you set that up. Another question here, can SDS2 user routings be exported to the STRUMIS file? For example, a user routing paint exported instead on the model finish code.
Yeah, the answer to that is yes. We have all of the same capabilities that we previously had with STRUMIS using a data transfer. So we have all of the member statuses, custom properties, and all that stuff will come through. There is when you go to export that, there's a bunch of check boxes that you can check on any and all of the custom properties that you want and any and all of the member statuses that you want.
And I think, as Alex alluded to in the demonstration as well, things like finish codes, we set those up in our production rules about which direction things should go in production. So if something has galv as a finish code, we know that it needs to go to a galvanizer, so we don't send it to the paint shop, and vice versa when it comes to paint over galv.
Right, let's see. There's another question that just says, what about plate material and bolts? I'm assuming all that comes across.
Yep, if you decide to include bolts on your export from SDS2, they will also come into STRUMIS and they can be tracked as well. And obviously all of the sub-material will be tracked as well. We only showed assemblies today just because we were showing the Fortosi side of it. But if anybody wants to see the importing and nesting of plate, just let us know and we can display that functionality as well.
There was a question, will the plugin run on lower versions of SDS2? I think the answer to that is no. It will start at 2020 and higher. And then how about the mill certificate of the materials? Are they separate in preparing the mill test?
Inside of STRUMIS, when we nest or molt our material and then we subsequently receive that material into inventory, we also take the mill test reports and attach them to that inventory. That will be available at some point through SDS2 color by attribute or inquire within SDS2 for the mill certification. And yeah, that inventory, when it has a mill test report attached to it, even if there's any drop, that will go through to the next job or project that you may want to use that material on.
There's been a number of questions about, can we get a link to the PowerPoint, and is the webinar being recorded? Yes, this is being recorded. We will get that uploaded later today or tomorrow. That will include all of this information. For those of you interested, we can also email that out to everybody, a link. We'll probably post that socially on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook this week yet. Trying to see if I've missed any other questions.
And if anybody wants any further information there as well, you know, the guys that know us can contact us directly. The ones that don't know us can always contact their regional support, and we can set something up.
Oh, I did get one more question here. Can you separate painted materials from the galvanized materials out of a project for the bill of lading?
We can on our side, we can export only the painted or the galv, and I'm pretty sure on your side you get the attribute, so you can select by finish if you like.
Great. And one more come in just now. Questions about cost. I would say we can reach out and have kind of a personal conversation. It kind of depends on different setups, and I would guess from your side, Chris, that's probably similar depending on what packages you put together.
From our side, anything that's seen today is at no additional cost to any on maintenance customers. Right.
From the SDS2 side, as far as that model transfer, the BSWX has no additional cost. You do need to have the licensing ability to create CNC files in place already for all of this to work and transfer those CNC files. And as far as Fortosi, our truck loading product, that is, I believe, $3,500 annually on subscription. And it's what does STRUMIS cost? It was another final question that just popped in here, Chris.
So the STRUMIS cost, as in the product itself.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, they would have to contact their regional salesperson or support. Anybody who has a specific question on cost, we can reach out to them directly.
Okay. Yep, I will get their contact over to you, Chris, and you can have the appropriate person reach out to them.
Okay.
All right, I think we've made it through just about every question on here. Yeah, I think we're good. We have no final questions trickling in. Oh, there's one final question about any financing on this. Again, I think that's probably a question we need to have directly with the sales reps to figure out for your situation what would be the best option.
And we have some financing partners on our side that we can put people in contact with as well. All
right, great. I'll make sure that I get those questions specifically facilitated over to everyone. And other than that, I think, thank you everyone for your time today.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everyone, take care. We'll get an email out with a copy of the webinar here later today. Thank you.